polishing of press plate gaming lounge has started. Floor is getting polished right now. Demo work starting later. We have the Xfinity Comcast guy installing the lines. So we're getting there.
It really was evolved out of a concept of wanting to channel something that's been a childhood thing of mine, which is gaming, and put it into something that could be for all adults, and then just gathering all these things that we travel so far to do and putting it into one place. I've never had a business on this magnitude or this scale. Imagine going to banks and lenders and saying, hey, I got a great idea. The response is overwhelming. I know this is going to hit off. Can you loan me $200,000 or $300,000 or $100,000? And they're like, no. Luckily, what I had been able to do was not only save up enough money, 401k, my own savings, my wife jumped in. We were able to scrape up enough to turn this into a real idea. The pandemic hit between February and March. We were supposed to open March the 14th, the 13th. The shutdown happened March the 14th. It's crazy because we had 50 employees we had just trained. Like there was so much devastation involved in that. A lot of the family walked away and said, oh, this business isn't going to work. Oh, this place is going to fail. It's one of those things where you do question your ability to, are we doing the right thing? Are we going in the right direction? But we had a winning mindset. Like, we're not going to let anything defeat us.
Most small business owners are curious people who notice a void or an opportunity in the market and make a conscious choice to fill that gap, which isn't always easy. There's a lot of resistance on that path, and Ray Embry Jr. is familiar with that path. My name is David Gibson, and this is the QueST series. Today, we sit down with owner of Press Play Gaming Lounge, where he describes the journey of him launching his business. He shares with us the many rejections, the many obstacles, the many people that doubted his vision. But through faith and the support of his wife, they joined together and they continue to work towards this vision and created something in the market that is unmatched. Join in with me as we sit down with this inspiring conversation with Ray Embry Jr. Have the great pleasure and opportunity to sit down with my guy, Ray Embry Jr., man.
Thank you for having me.
For sure, man. Press Play Lounge. Now, I want to make sure we do this justice.
Sure.
I don't even want to describe what this is. I can't even put it into my own words.
For
How would you describe what Press Play Lounge is?
Press Play Gaming Lounge is a new family fun entertainment center that is a different style of lounging. You know, people are used to sitting down gaming. When you think about gaming, you think about sitting down and playing the PlayStation, the Xbox, and just sitting down, you know. But we're a different style of gaming that focuses on physical activity that have created a space where you can do Nerf, three-point basketball, virtual reality. And then we do have some sit-down gaming, but it's more physical, and that's what we love about it. And about the parents that come through is that they're getting their kids off of the video game console and up doing something and burning energy.
Yeah.
And so the console is the last thought now after you get done doing all this fun stuff that we have here. And so that's what I would put it in a nutshell, is it's more of a physical activity, family fun entertainment center.
Man, I love it, man. Like, we had the opportunity to get a tour of the facility. Man, like, I'm speechless on the level of creativity that was placed into each and every single element in this place here, which is very intriguing to me, right? Because at some point, this didn't exist.
Right.
So I really want to kind of go back to that moment where the idea sparked in your mind, because we've had conversations off video, and I know clearly you've always had that entrepreneurial spirit.
For sure.
That mindset where you want to create your own reality. You want to use your skills, your gifts, and your talents, your know-how, and create something out of nothing. But where did the idea come from when you established the concept for Press Play Lounge?
Right. So I'll take you all the way back to trying to, like, even think about even being able to fund it.
Yeah.
Because you know, I'm a technical writer. You know, I write policies and procedures for IT companies, medical companies, all of the above, and I work for a great company. And for the first time in my life, I was able to accrue enough money to be able to, like, think about, man, what is going to be the next thing for me? Like, what can I use to put that money into? And one thing I realized was that me and my wife traveled a lot. We spent a lot of money going to Orlando, Vegas, all these different places. Said, why do we have to travel so far to spend so much money? And if you've been to Disneyland before, you'll know that there's not enough time for the money you spend. There's not enough time in a day to experience everything. And so he's just like, I got to think of something. And as we traveled to all these places, I started collecting things like basketball. You can only do that at the theme park, the 3-point challenge. Nerf, where can you do Nerf around here? You know, you know, virtual reality, that's the cutting edge thing, but there's no real place to just do VR, you know, like, and then I don't like wires. So how do we get that into something where it's easy for people to come in, put the headset on and play? Thank God for the Oculus that came out. And so I just started gathering all these things. And then somebody came to me and they threw an idea about Nerf in, and I was like, yeah, but my mind always thinks about more than just Nerf. It's like, yeah, you got Nerf, but what about this and this? And, you know, my mind always goes 1,000% above what somebody's like. You come to me with an idea, I'm already thinking about 1,000 ways to add on to that. And so that's just kind of how my mind works. And so it really was evolved out of a concept of wanting to channel something that's been a childhood thing of mine, which is gaming, and put it into something that could be for all adults, and then just gathering all these things that we travel so far to do and putting it into one place.
Yeah.
Along the ride with that was my wife, who is helped to mold this whole thing greatly and is by my side every step of the way. And so together we've created Press Play Gaming Lounge.
Yeah, man. Excellent. And so you had this idea, and I love the fact how you described how you begin to take different things from different experiences,
Right.
different places that you would visit or travel to, and then you started to package together a concept that was unique to you.
Sure.
Right? So you started to develop this business plan, so to speak.
Right.
What was the next step after that?
You know, here's the thing, and you're gonna meet people. My wife is one of them. She's a realist, and you know that means that she only sees what's in front of her or what's tangible, what I can feel and see, and that's a great thing because I'm more of a visionary, can see beyond years beyond. Like this is where things are going, and we're a great match because she bounced a lot of things against me when I was throwing the concept and ideas. They're like, yeah, what about this and this and this? And that forced me to sit down and really think about putting a business plan together. And I got on PowerPoint and I just started with one thing. So we need a name.
Yeah.
What is this going to be called? I got what I want to do. So I came up with the name, and then I sat down and I said, well, let's grab all these things, Nerf, basketball, VR. And I said, well, how do you make money from these? And I said, well, I got to figure out, like, if somebody was to do Nerf by itself for 8 hours in a working day, how many people would I need to, so my mind just started thinking, like, how much would I need to operate?
Yeah.
And so all these things evolved into me creating this, like, detailed PowerPoint and to showcase to my wife eventually, like, what I was going to do. Like, I had to have the ultimate plan, you know what I mean? And once I felt comfortable with that, I presented it to her, and she was like, I could see this happening. I was like, okay, I think I got something.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of how that part of it evolved. I mean, and I did a lot of research, started trying to understand, like, the TV pod areas, how I got that concept from Vegas. There's a hotel called the Link Hotel. And now I'm the only one that have these now, but they had tried to do this concept where, how do we get millennials to spend? How do we get millennials to come to Vegas and spend money? And they said, we need couches, Xboxes, and TVs. And so they did this experiment for a year, and it won. Basically, millennials would not come to Vegas, but if you had a couch, a TV, beer, and food, then they would be there.
Yeah.
Because, that works. Unfortunately, they were charging $1,000 for people to sit there, and the concept didn't work from a financial perspective. It worked from an attracting perspective, but it didn't work financially because they were charging way too much. It's Vegas, so they feel like if you're spending $5,000 to gamble, then what's $1,000 is nothing. And so, but that didn't work for the millennial because millennials are very cheap, not necessarily wanting to spend money. And that's not a bad thing. We splurge, and they didn't want to spend money, so it's a healthy balance there. But and so that's where the idea for the lounging pod areas came, and it was just like, I need to take that and make it affordable. And so now when people are spending an hour or two with unlimited play in our facility, they get the lounge. It's just an incentive. Now you get to just sit there and hang out and watch TV, order food, just to have your family playing in our facility.
Yeah,
so,
it's real. What I love about it, Ray, is like the community feel
Sure.
to it, where you can bring your family, and then there's something for everybody.
Absolutely.
From the kids to the parents, the mother, the father. You can go out and do your own thing. You got the bar. You have the area where you can purchase food, play games. I mean, you name it, you have it, right?
Sure.
And I love the fact how you highlight the importance of balance.
Absolutely.
Right. Having something for everyone, but also the balance as it relates to you and your wife, right?
Right.
I'm the same way, where you have that vision, and you can come up with great ideas, but you need someone that has the tangible steps that you need to take to make it happen, and kind of play that devil's advocate at times, right? Like to challenge, like, can you really do this, or what do you need to implement?
Think about
Exactly.
Like, I didn't think about that.
So another thing that I think is something to consider for any business, right? Your location can either make or break
Absolutely.
you,
100%.
right? And we're sitting right now in what used to be a grocery store,
Yep.
a marsh.
Yep.
It's like what, 22,000 square feet here?
28,000 square feet.
28,000 square feet. Can you kind of dive into or elaborate on how you came across this specific building?
Sure.
And really like the concept behind like having a vision of saying, I'm going to take this building that used to be
Right.
this, and I'm going to convert it and transform it into
Right.
Press Play Lounge.
Absolutely. In my research for trying to discover like where this could potentially be, I knew that I was going to need a lot of square footage. And I was like, I know that it's either going to be one of those things where you got to build something or use something existing. And one thing clicked into my mind, it's a lot of old marsh buildings just chilling and nobody's doing anything with them. During my research, I quickly found out that a lot of the marsh buildings are owned by Kroger's. When they become empty, obviously there's a monopoly on their side of we want to be the only grocery store in this area. And so a lot of the grocery stores are bought up by bigger companies to use them as warehouses to prevent other places from putting groceries in there. All right, that's a whole nother thing. But in my search for that, I couldn't find a whole lot of places because anytime you bring up food for these places, they get a little sketchy. And so we ended up stumbling across 3 buildings that I'm like, might be ideal. They used to be old. They're very, very old. Like this one was created in 1970 and it was no longer being used by the time like 1990 came. I think it had a really short life.
So it was vacant.
Yeah, it was
Sitting
vacant for a while. And there's a lot of buildings like this sitting around. And so here's the key. When you're looking for buildings, it's important to be able to have a landlord who understands what you're trying to do when it comes to renovation. And that played a very important part in our selection of location, okay? Because a lot of people were like, why didn't you put this on the east side or the west side? I'm like, here's the thing. It's not about where I want to put it. It's about, am I going to be able to have enough time, money, and development to get this built in a timely manner to open, okay? And a lot of places wanted to charge an arm and a leg to let you renovate, even while you're renovating. This was the only location that allowed me 6 months to renovate and allowed me to build up enough time to get this together in order to open. Yeah. Fortunately, we opened during the pandemic, and so that didn't help at all. But I was grateful for that because it allowed us to redo a lot of things before we opened. During the pandemic, you got plastic shields that everybody have to use. Everybody has to wear a mask. So we've adopted a lot of that stuff that was not existing before, that we didn't even think about. And so it was very helpful for us to not open during the pandemic because it allowed us to reestablish ourselves as a place that could bring people in and protect them as well. And so now we continue that. But that was how we got our location and how we ended up opening. So.
Yeah, and accommodating with all the health protocols put in place out
Absolutely.
the gate. And like really, I really want to touch on that. Because
Sure.
I mean, starting a small business, period, is challenging.
Absolutely.
It's difficult, right?
Absolutely.
To have an idea, to build it, create a business plan, bring it to the market,
Sure.
and then sustain that idea and have a successful and revenue producing business. That's complicated. You did it in the heart of a pandemic. Can you kind of talk about some of the challenges that you faced doing that?
Bro, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. I'm going to tell you that right now. Let's put tears in the beginning because, anytime you spend the amount of money that we spent to build this place and then you get hit by a pandemic, the first thing you're thinking about is how am I going to get all my money back? How am I going to, when you renovate a space that we don't own the building, we're just renovating the space to make it work for us. And so you put all these dollars into creating this space and now you can't even use it. It was an incredible burden, an incredible time for us to really reevaluate. Is this going to work? Are we going to lose our money? And so for us, it was just about trusting in God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we trusted that God's purpose for how things were aligning and going begun to make sense to us. And it's like, I don't think that God would allow us to get this far in order to shut it down.
Yeah.
And this is where people's mentality come into perspective. Can you defeat doubt? You know, God, like the Bible speaks of the doubt is like for a mustard seed. That much doubt right there can kill your whole dream.
Come on.
But that mustard seed of faith and winning, a winning mindset, it takes just that much for you to get across the finish line. And so we really had to turn that on. It's like, I don't think God would put us in a situation for us to stop right now.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm glad we didn't stop, because there's times where you're shelling out so much money. You're like, can we stop the bleeding? Like, and this is all like right after the shutdown.
Yeah.
And let me put this in perspective for you. We got the building in November of 19. We had this done and built by the end of January. The pandemic hit between February and March. We were supposed to open March the 14th, the 13th. The shutdown happened March the 14th. So we didn't even we had a friends and family day that Friday, and then the next day, the whole country shut down. It was like the state decided that no businesses should be open right now. Everybody should go home.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because we had 50 employees we had just trained. You know, staffing, everything was crazy, bro. And it was just devastating. But how we decided that we weren't going to give up on this was because we got nothing but green lights. And, you know, a lot of this is rewarding to the people that was around us at the time, family.
Yeah.
People were stepping in, helping us paint, helping us get through things. Our construction company ran out of money. You know, there were so many things that we had to go through, including our construction company, who was hiring like drug addicts. And like, there was so much devastation involved in that. But we had a winning mindset.
Yeah.
It was like, we're not going to let anything defeat us. We're going to continue, even if we got to get in here, buy our own paint, get up on ladders, try and get as much done as we could. And I went in, you know, the one thing that was popping during the pandemic was Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, because at that point, everybody decided, you know what, I've been looking for a time to fix my house up or my business.
Yeah.
And so it was popping up there. We went up there and started buying things, and I started understanding. I'm not a home improvement person unless I have to be, but then I started learning more about construction and buying things and getting certain things. And so we were able to get to a point where we had got stuff from the CDC to understand how to do COVID, how to get shields and masks, and the city was graceful enough to give us free supplies for helping with that. And so by the time we opened, you'd think that we had been doing this for years. You know, we opened June of 2020 that year. And man, it was incredible. It's, to me right now, it's like a blink of an eye, but at the time it was like, man, are we ever going to open?
Yeah.
Are we even close to being able to open? And we got nothing but green lights, and that's only by the grace of God and our faith and belief in knowing that we had something that people would love. I had built up a 6,000 people subscription list prior to us even opening. Wow. So I knew that it was something that people weren't anticipating, but it absolutely deflated what we could have done if we'd opened prior to the pandemic. Because even when we opened, there was still people timid about coming, and the masks. And, you know, we had somebody come in here and go crazy on us about people wearing masks. This is unconstitutional, and you shouldn't make people wear masks. I'm like, listen, lady.
It's like, I mean, you can't make everybody happy.
I have a choice. And I totally understood where she's coming from, because, you know, it's your right, you know what I mean, at the end of the day. And I was like, for us to be business owners and to be able to open to the public, we don't know who's sick or not. We have to have people wear masks. And so that's a whole nother conversation, but that's kind of where it led to. It's like, wow, this is a whole new world that we have to adapt to in opening a new business during a pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, you describe really like the journey of you overcoming the challenges that were thrown at you, right?
Sure.
And I love how you looked at it from the winner's mentality, where you understood that this is just a test.
Right.
Like we got to stay focused on the prize and the mission at hand. But you're describing really the experience of a setback.
Absolutely.
And I want to kind of dive deeper into that, where, you know, to give even more context, the majority of this was funded out of your pocket, right? You know, can you explain how you dove into that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So here's another thing. I've never had a business on this magnitude or this scale.
Yeah.
So imagine going to banks and lenders and saying, hey, I got a great idea. The response is overwhelming. I know this is going to hit off. Can you loan me 200,000 or 300,000 or 100,000 or 50,000 or 20,000?
Yeah.
And they're like, no.
There's no proof in concept.
There is no proof that you can make a profit with that concept. And that was the hardest thing ever. And so luckily, what I had been able to do was not only save up enough money, 401k, my own savings, my wife jumped in. We were able to scrape up enough to turn this into a real idea. And it was literally, I think in a way it was God saying, no, you don't need lending. You don't need this much money. You can do this. And it really shows you that we are some of the richest, poorest people ever because we know how to, if we want something bad enough, we know how to get that money without doing it the wrong way or going through ways that we probably shouldn't. Versus just trying to dig deep and say, okay, what do we have? What do you have? What, you know what I mean? Working within the confines of ourselves and pulling that out and absolutely winning with that. Yeah. And so we were able to basically pull it together ourselves, me and my wife, and day by day, even while working. And so some people say, you jump, you take that leap of faith. I don't mean quit your job. You know, in some cases you can do that or you're forced to do that. But for us, it was, okay, how much are we making per month? How much are we making per week? Let's take a portion of that, dump it into the construction or whatever we need to go get. And so it was just us digging down and going it from the mud. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we both make a decent amount of money, in our personal lives. But man, it was crushing to know that we were living paycheck to paycheck, funding an entire business and our own personal homes and making sure our kids are good and food on the table, going into the mortgage, you know what I mean? Like we basically had to dig down and say, no, we got to do this. Like this has to work. Yeah. And pulling it from everywhere we can get it from, except for anybody that were able to lend it to us. Yeah. That was the sucky part is facing people and saying, listen, we've put everything into this. You got to know that we're serious about this business and we know it will work. And them saying, I'm sorry. Yeah. I can't. We can't. You just don't have enough. Not only that, in the pandemic, if you had a business prior to 2019, you possibly could have gotten a PPP loan, right, or some kind of SBA loan that was funded by the government. We weren't able to get any of that. Like we didn't show any profits for 2019. We didn't show that we had any payroll for 2019. Yeah. We didn't show that we had made any profit at all. And so business companies were like, no, like, sorry. Yeah. And so we really had to dig deep. And it's one of those things where you do question your ability to, are we doing the right thing? Are we going in the right direction? Should we stop now? Like, how do we stop the bleeding? And it's like, we had to look at how much we had put in already. It's like, no, we got on one hand, we're like, we got to get our money back, at least. On the other hand, it's like, this is something people want. Like, everybody's excited about this. And we see that now. But at the time, it's like, wow, should we stop?
Yeah. So. And what I love about that, Ray, is really the fact that you and your wife did not accept no for an answer. Right. Right. Like you ran into the challenge that unfortunately many people run into, particularly, minorities or people of color, where traditional forms of financing, isn't necessarily an option. Right. Like you may knock on the door and attempt to get, a loan for your business, but you have the business plan, but there's no concept. And even in the heart of a pandemic, it's like, no, we don't have anything for you. Right. And, there's other forms of financing. You have VCs, venture capitalists, angel investors, and now crowdfunding as well. But what you did was you said, you know what? We are going to pull this thing up from our bootstraps. Absolutely. And we're going to believe in our vision. And that's what sticks out to me. You didn't accept no for an answer, and then you believed in your vision, like believing in something that doesn't even exist. Right. You can't touch it. You can't taste it. You can just see it with your mind's eye, not even your physical eye, but your mind's eye. And then you experience that heavy setback, right?
Sure.
Like that moment where you've put so much into something.
Right.
And then you get this delay.
Mm-hmm.
And in your particular case, when you're funding it out of your pocket,
Right.
it's like, yo, we were banking on being open to generate some cash flow
Absolutely.
to be able to handle our expenses, pay our
Right.
staff,
Yep.
and get this thing rolling. Can you kind of talk about the emotional challenge,
Sure.
the wrestling match mentally that
Sure.
you and your wife were experiencing as you're navigating just trying to get open?
Oh yeah, I mean, and what people don't see is that marriage is a union, and a lot of times it can seem one sided because someone believes that something works, and then your other party is like, listen, based on what's going on right now, it ain't working.
Yeah, y'all speaking
And
two
so
different languages.
We had many conversations about just whether it's screaming, arguing, and this is normal stuff, because on one side, as a man, you want to make sure that the family is secure. You want to make sure that you're not dipping into money that could potentially, lose the house or whatever. And so, having conversations about taking out mortgages and saying, it's going to work, and convincing the other party that, hey, we're still going in the right direction. In some ways, it was an emotional challenge, but you know what? My wife believed in me, and she believed in the process. And granted, it was about trying to win, show her that, hey, we're winning, we're gonna win. It's okay, and just reassuring her like, hey, it's okay, we got this, and she started seeing it as well. But those sleepless nights, those days where we're screaming and yelling at each other and trying to get stuff done, even on colors. This, green and black, purple, red, this should be, all that stuff, led up to this beautiful location and beautiful space. And granted, those times are challenging. That's also what make you stronger and your bond even stronger, because we know what we had to go through in that challenging time, mentally, physically, and then also we're not great at like talking to other people about our, what's going on with this type of business, because on the outside you want people to know that, hey, we got this. So it's a lot of us yelling at each other and trying to get vent about what we should have done and could have done, and so, but we ate it. And we talked it, discussed it, got it out. And whether it was in terms of screaming and yelling and I don't want to see you no more, whatever it was a beautiful thing to see, because now we know like that's what it took to get to this stage. And like I tell my wife all the time, had it not been for your unwillingness at some points to say that maybe it should be this color, or maybe, to put something in my mind and say, maybe we should do it this way, a lot of this still wouldn't exist, because it would have been my way. So I always give her credit for challenging some of my thoughts and challenging some of the processes, making me think a little bit more about how things should be done. Because it's that reason why things, why people love, and it's so clean in here. And it's like, that what she was saying, that's actually working. So it's rewarding to know that a lot of the challenges that we faced mentally and physically during that time is rewarding now, because people can actually enjoy family time and see us as a real company.
What I love about what you just described there was really the belief starting from within. And then you made that belief contagious.
Absolutely.
Right? You allowed your wife to see the vision, and then she bought into it. But then what also stood out to me, and I think this really kind of sums up like your journey in many ways, was you said, believe in the process.
Absolutely.
Believe in the process. And I think the process is what often eliminates many people who have great gifts, amazing talents, brilliant ideas, but it doesn't happen instantaneously, right? We live in a generation now where everybody wants instant gratification. Drive-through breakthrough, microwave success. They want it overnight, and it doesn't work that way, right? And you're describing this process of not only you personally evolving, but your marriage evolving, and both of your mindsets really beginning to upgrade themselves to see newer possibilities. What would you say to maybe someone that's tuning in that has an idea, maybe they gave up too soon, or maybe they're afraid to take that initial step because of the process that's involved? With everything that you've learned from this experience, what advice would you give to them?
I will say this: what you see in your mind and what you see as a thing, if you could see it in your mind, if you could see it existing, and maybe this is a rare thing, but there's a lot of visionaries out there, and if you can see something, it can exist, it can be real, and your idea isn't necessarily for everybody. And that's one of the challenges, is if you're in a group of 6 people and you're the only one who believe that you can create this thing, but 5 people are saying, I don't see it. It's easy to say, you know what, maybe they're right. But you got to trust that if you see it in your mind, that it can be real. And I guarantee you, everything, even from the Omni Arena that we just got to everything in here, I seen it in my head already. And every time I go somewhere, I'm like, man, I could really see that we have that. And it's unbelievable when I walk through the door sometimes and I say, wow, that was just something I seen.
Yeah.
And it's here physically, I can touch it. And that's the power of our mind and having a winning mindset, is that if you can see it and believe it and see yourself operating in it, then it's something that's real and tangible. So don't allow anyone to take that from you. And it's okay if you're working somewhere or trying to build up to that, because that's what it takes. I don't encourage it's rare to just jump and go unless you're actually forced to in that realm. If you do, that's fine, but try to hang on to something that will allow you to fund that idea too, because it could be one of those things where you're backpedaling and you're not able to fund what you see in your mind. It may take a little bit longer. So it's okay to work at different places or have some kind of side hustle income to motivate you to go there. And it's also okay to eliminate people who deter you from trying to be what you want to be. My friend circle is very small. My circle of people that discourage me is very small. Even some family discourage you, like, I don't see that happening. It's like some of those people you really love and you really value their opinion, they may be the very ones to try to deter you from going to that next level. And I will say this: what you see in your mind is not for everyone. It was meant for you. It was meant for you to be able to create that. And I want them to know that don't allow someone to deter you from that if you see it in your mind. It's going to eat at you every single day. It's God nudging you and saying, hey, this is for you. Despite what anybody is saying, even if it's your partner, it's for you. Now, it may be on you to help them understand what you're trying to do, because there are a lot of realists out there that understand that I can't see this based on the statistics over here. That didn't work. I don't know if that's going to work. But why do you think there's so many burger joints? Why do you think there's so many toilet paper joints? Why do you think there's so many grocery stores? Everybody's necessary. They all do things slightly different, have a different logo, but the concept is still there. They're still selling food. They're still selling paperware. They're still selling tires. If it was a world where there should only be one thing, then it would only be one tire company. It would only be one burger company. And so nothing is out of anything is possible. You know what I'm saying? So if your goal is to create the best Marvel films, even though there's a Marvel company out there, man, how many Batman movies has it been? I like all of them. How many Spider-Mans has it been? It's like, bro, the world is telling everybody that it's possible to create more than one type of thing. And so that's kind of the realm that I'm in. Okay, there's a lot of FECs, which is family entertainment spaces, Dave & Buster's, Sky Zone, all these different places. Should I be discouraged about mine? No, I'm necessary too. People want different things. People want to jump around sometimes. People want to go and just be at an arcade sometimes. People want to go and just get airborne sometimes. You know, they want to go and do race carts sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's necessary. So never discount your idea or belief, because your thoughts and processes on how you do things are necessary in the world somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Ray, when you're describing an individual that has an idea, right? You say, put your unique spin to it. There may be something out there that's similar to what you want to build and create, but you put your unique spin to it.
Right.
And then you have to do inventory on your circle of influence. Because like
Right.
you mentioned, people around you will impose their fears, their doubts, their
Absolutely.
insecurities, and the limitations on
Right.
your potential,
Right.
right? And it's like, God gave me this vision.
Right.
Your opinion doesn't have to become my truth. And I
Right.
love that, right? And something else that I really want to dive into and ask you about as you're speaking on developing that unique spin to it, right?
Sure.
When people come in to press play and they see you, you briefly mentioned it, but many people often assume like you got it all together, right? Like everything may be perfect because you've built this idea into what it is now.
Right.
But what would be something that you wish others would know about what it is that you do that they don't? Like maybe an assumption that many people often make in the path that you're on that they have no idea about.
Right. A lot of people get carried away with planning. Okay. We all know that what's the 5 P's? Proper planning prevents poor performance. Right. It's always good to plan. Okay. It's always good to have some kind of structure. But one thing you can never plan for is when 100 people come through that door. How what you put together, you assume that that's how they're going to come in and operate when it's not. And so I would just allow people to have a period of time to understand the people that you're entertaining or your customers, because and another thing is make sure that you're staying close to matching the same level of service that people are used to. Okay. If I had a chicken joint, I need to be watching Chick-fil-A very closely and how they do customer service and how the people come in and how they want food and how the customers respond to that. Okay. You can be having a bad day, but you go to Chick-fil-A, get some food, you leave in there in a good mood, because that's just the level of service that they are providing. And so always tell people, allow yourself time to process and understand the people that you're selling to or your customers, because what you think they want may not be what they want. An example, when I first opened, I was like, oh yeah, we're going to do karaoke nights. We're going to, have movie nights. And I started putting flyers and things out there. I'm like, yeah, they're going to eat this up.
Yeah.
Nobody showed up. Okay. I thought they wanted karaoke, but people coming in, they just wanted the game. I also thought that, individual pricing would work better than group pricing. And so I quickly realized that, hey, why don't we put a price together for people that want to do everything? And so that's where unlimited play comes in at. It's like individual play versus unlimited play. So what I'm saying is you give yourself and your business time to evolve.
Yeah.
It took us 2 years to understand the consumer, the customer, when they come in, what they want. A lot of times we're like, no, this is my business. This is how I started, my way or the highway. Okay, you see how long that's going to get you.
Yeah.
If you don't listen to customers, if you don't listen to or watch your competitors and see what level of service they're providing, the automation, the waivers, making sure that people are signed up to this, making sure that you send out links and emails and confirmation and feedback, and watching Google, making sure that you're responding not in a erratic way, but telling them thank you for your feedback. We'll make sure we improve next time. Instead of saying, oh man, these customers are always wrong, man. They always coming in here attacking me. These haters,
Yeah.
You see how long that's going to last you.
Right.
The consumer is always going to help you try to navigate and understand what they want. And again, these people don't have to come in here and spend a penny with you. If they're willing to come in and spend a penny with you, then they're worth listening to, because they could have went right past your business and went to the next guy.
Yeah.
And so it's important to allow yourself time to evolve and build processes that help you understand what the consumers want. And I would say that to anyone, don't just assume that you know what they want. Allow them to show you what they want, and have a friends and family night. It's a friends and family night before you actually unleash something, which is like what we did. when we first opened, we totally failed our first night. Thank God it was friends and family. A lot of the family walked away, said, "Oh, this business isn't going to work. Oh, this place is going to fail." You know, and we got a lot of good feedback from our employees. Well, what were they saying? Like, what were they not happy about? What should we improve on? Within 2 days, we fixed everything that we did wrong.
Wow.
And it was just a matter of understanding the feedback. And one thing that I was pitching to my wife, and we kind of disagreed with this, is she was like, no, we got to do it like this. I was like, well, you need a night where people can understand, help you understand how your business should flow. Okay. You need to get them in here and see how they operate, see how the employees interact with people, see how things work. If you don't allow yourself time to do that, you're going to fail. And so luckily we was able to correct our wrongs after that first night. We didn't even have the drawers in. You know, at businesses, you can't do nothing without putting a drawer in, right? Yeah. Like as a business, if you don't have a cash drawer, how you gonna get people cash or their change back? Yeah. And so on our first night, we didn't have any drawers in. That just tells you how much planning we put into it. Right. And we didn't even think about the most simplest thing is to have a cash drawer in. And so we learned our lesson from that. Okay, number one, let's put the cash drawers in today, okay? And so don't attack customers, okay? We live in a world where customers are used to a certain level of service, okay? They're going to these places that are spending millions, thousands, and hundreds of dollars on making sure that they perfect certain processes. If you get a bad review, you shouldn't be attacking them. You should be seeing, how can I prevent that from happening again? What can we put in place or what can we do to help prevent that from happening? It's not the customer's fault if they're used to going to 10 places who do it this way, and all of a sudden they come to yours and you don't. You either need to catch up or understand how to do it better or provide a different service or way. You're not going to completely match other companies because your business model is going to be different. But you have to understand why they're angry or why they're mad. And one thing that we were really good at, thank God I'm in processes. As a technical writer, I'm in business and processes, and I get to listen to a lot of leaders correct things. Okay. And so that really helped me understand that let's not attack the customers. Let's understand what we did wrong and how we can prevent that from happening again. Yeah, you're not going to make everybody happy. It's impossible to make everybody happy. You can be doing all the right things, and there's always going to be one person who questions everything, even if you did everything the right way. What I will pitch to people is to just make sure it's not your fault. Make sure that your guys and your company is doing the right things. I can walk away with knowing that we did absolutely everything that we were supposed to do based on our processes, and somebody being angry versus finding out that we failed on a process and they were angry. Right. And so it's different. You know, it's different. But either way, the customer is the person that doesn't have to come in your establishment or spend $1 with you. And so it's important to understand that I need that customer to walk away. I'd rather give them their money back than have a bad experience. If you had a bad experience, listen, it's 100% money back guarantee. Let me give you your money back. Give us a shot next time. Understanding it from that perspective is always going to make you win.
I love it. And I asked that question because it highlights how mistakes are made, right? Many people often look at, somebody that is succeeding or achieving at a high level. Sure. They're looking on Instagram and Facebook and seeing people's highlight reels, and they don't see the process that's involved, Absolutely. The mistakes that are made, and the failures and rejections that are experienced, sure. Right? So that can often be intimidating and really coerce many people to not take that initial Absolutely. Step. But I love how you highlighted the necessity of making some of those even unobserved pivots and shifts right. and adjustments, sure. and seeing things that could be improved, seeing mistakes that have been made and lessons that you can learn from those, and then applying it to right. your process and the systems that you implement in your day-to-day business. So I sure. love that. My last question for you, Ray, is this, okay? In this QuEST series, we're highlighting how people are chasing something. They're pursuing sure. something. They're working towards something. Ray, what are you chasing?
What am I chasing? There's a couple of things that I'm chasing. One, my family history, we don't have a whole lot of entrepreneurs. We don't have a whole lot of things that we could have a backup to. You know, I would have loved to work in a family company or a family business and build it up and one day become a Walmart, you know, where we have, you know, we can make it an easier life in America. You know, America is pretty much a capitalistic country. And I hate to say this, but it's hard if you don't have a business. You know, you can be totally satisfied with working a job, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, you know, what's more satisfying is building a legacy for your family, building a legacy for generations after you, building something that they can look back and say, 20 years ago, this guy started something, and I'm grateful because we're able to still operate in this business. And my kids, grandkids will be able to survive off of something that we sacrificed time and money for to build something for them. And so then when you look at all the Sam's Clubs and Walmarts and Costco's and McDonald's, and you can look back 30, 40, 100 years and say, wow, at some point in time, you know, they were selling burgers for 5 cents. And now they can sell a burger for $3, $4. You know, while it takes a long time to get to that point, I appreciate the fact that somebody in their family years ago decided, one, that they wanted to be the one to create something generationally, you know, driving generational wealth. That's the first thing. The second thing is I just got a love for seeing people happy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like seeing families together does something to me. Like growing up in our family, we moved away from our family in Chicago, and there was times where we didn't get to see our family a lot. And even now it's tough for us to see our family as everybody grows up and has families and begins to build their own routes in life and have their own families. We start moving apart, then you add technology to that, which makes it even more difficult socially. And so having a place where people can come and gather again and have fun and understand why kids love to play video games so much. And, you know, I remember getting scolded for playing video games all day. Yeah. But if I could have, my mom would have took me to something like this. It's like, now you see why I like it. Look at all the other kids and their families. Everybody loves to do this. You know what I mean? And now families are starting to understand why kids love to do certain things so much. Oh, I get it now. This is why it's fun. And they're playing with them. And so my hope is that we can build a lot of press plays across the country and across the world that will allow families to get back together and enjoy family time again, to get away from all the stuff that's going on in the world. And one thing I also love is that when you see people come through that door and the kids are driving, man, the kids are the driving force for us. I tell you, I mean, these kids, they send us letters almost every week about, you know, how they love the cheesy pizza and the VR and the Nerf and glad that we're in town and stuff. And it just motivates us because we know that those kids are out there showing their parents that, hey, there's a place for all of us to go to and have fun. So let me show it to you. And it's a beautiful thing, man. So I get excited reading the letters, and I get excited when families, dads come in here with their sons, moms come in here with their daughters or sons. Date nights, you know, we have fight nights, basketball, football. Just seeing people come and get together, it's an amazing thing. And me and my wife just said, we laugh and we talk about and joke about some of the things we see, and it's just amazing to see, man. And so those two things I think are the driving force behind what we do. You know, at the end of the day, it's all driven by God. And this is something that makes me happy, makes us happy. I even still work my day job because I love it. I love I actually model some of my thinking behind some of the owner of one of the companies that I work for. Is just because he's such a caring, leader. This guy's name's Ty Mosier and his wife. They really care about their customers and employees, and I'm grateful to have and still work for one of those companies where I can take the information that they're inputting into people and supply it to my customers and employees in efforts to one day become a huge company that cares. You know, so ultimately that's what we do it for.
And that's a gem right there. If you guys didn't catch it, okay, I don't want that to go over our head, right? You may be in a position where you're working a 9-to-5 and you have this side hustle and this vision to establish your own empire, so to speak. But there's things that you can learn from at your actual 9-to-5. And you're taking that and applying that to the business that you were building, right? And to kind of end on what we described, what you were chasing, you know, what I really get out of this, Ray, and we talked about this off camera, is really the experiences that you create for people, right?
Sure.
You're creating experiences where relationships can be established, built, and flourish. Like
Yep.
you're creating bonds between people through just entertainment and fun and things that people enjoy. So you're doing great and phenomenal work here in the community. How can people connect with you and learn more about you? And also, briefly, highlight what is going to be featured actually starting today at the time of this recording. You've got a new addition to the tools that you have here at Press Play Lounge. But can you kind of briefly talk about that and how people can connect?
Sure, man. You know, we, you know, as we talked about earlier, we try to stay ahead of the curve, and we offer things that that's hard for people to get to, like Nerf basketball and especially VR. VR is a virtual reality. For those who don't know what VR is basically something that's being established in movies, and you're starting to see a lot of headsets out there. People are talking about the metaverse and going into a whole nother world, and companies are getting ready to start using them and shipping them out to their employees. And we got ahead of that curve by having the Oculus headsets. The limitation to having the Oculus headsets in VR is sometimes that playing co-op is a little bit tougher in a business setting. And so one thing that we wanted to attack this year was getting co-op play. And co-op play meaning that me, you, and two other people can play together in one game together in one arena. Yeah. And so it's going down. Yeah, it's going down. I had been eyeing, my wife will tell you, she's like, you finally got what you've been wanting. And I had been eyeing this for a couple of years, and this great sales guy has been always stuck with me and emailed me and called me and just kept it in the back of my head. And we finally got a sweet deal on getting what is called the Omni Arena. Actually reached out to a couple of guys that I wanted to partner with on this to help them build generational wealth as well. And so that's the cool thing about me, is that I'm willing to work with people who have this kind of the same mindset. Yeah. And so I had put something out on Facebook about partnering with some people about, hey, let's go get this thing. You know, I could totally have bought it by myself, but what's the fun in that when I can help other people build generational wealth as well? Right. And also it's easier on my pockets, you know, if I'm teaming up with other people who are also entrepreneurs. So I ended up teaming up with Brian Murphy and a guy named Steve James.
Okay, Stephen James, yeah.
Yeah, Stephen James. And then we went out to Vegas and met with the owner of the Omni Arenas. Okay. He's created 50 of them across the world so far. We're the 51st one to have it. And we basically went through like what they call the FEC school, university, learning about this kind of industry, and the Omni Arena was the best one there. I mean, there's this conference full of people that have these type of businesses, the Dave & Buster's, the Chuck E. Cheese's, the Sky Zones. They're all, this is where they go to get the newest, best stuff. And we are the first ones in Indianapolis and for miles to get something like this in this state. And I said, we have to get that. And so once they went and seen it and experienced it, we were like, okay, let's throw the money down and let's get this thing. And so now it's an addition to Press Play. It's called the Omni Arena. There's 7 games, and they call it going into the Omniverse, where you're basically, if you remember the movie Ready Player One, you're getting in this, you're putting a headset on and you're getting on this running device that allows you to run full speed in the game. And chase after people, shoot people down, and, zombies. There's scary stuff called paranormal. There's kid stuff and adult stuff, and it's a fun thing, man. I encourage anybody who is into virtual reality, wanting to go into experience ultra VR at the highest level. This is the newest VR tech out there right now. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to find anything like it. Everybody has headsets, but to be able to run in VR, like even with the Oculus, you got to run in place or you're going to hit a wall. With this thing, you can run full speed and you're going to stay in the same place, but you're going to be moving around in the game like it's a real life. Yeah. And so we encourage people to come out today. This 4/28 at 4 p.m. It goes live to the public. And I think that people will have an exceptional time with it. If they want to reach us, you can reach us at Press Play Gaming Lounge. I said the website wrong. It's pressplaylounge.com. Once you go to pressplaylounge.com, you can click on our attractions, and you'll be able to see all the things that we have here. You'll be able to stay connected to us. We're on Instagram, Press Play Gaming Lounge. We're on Twitter, Press Play Gaming Lounge. We are on Facebook at Press Play Gaming Lounge. And so you can find us there anytime. Give us a call, 317-939-2987 to book a party. We book a ton of parties and book a ton of company and corporate events. Nice. And so we are here for the community. So.
That's what I'm talking about, family. Connect with my guy, Ray. If you are ever in the Indianapolis or Brownsburg area, come to Press and Play Gaming Lounge, excuse me. Messed that name up, man. Yeah. Ray, I appreciate your time, brother, man. I'm loving what you are doing. Keep applying that pressure and building the momentum, man. You're doing some great work, not just, again, to create experiences for people, but the work in the community, man. You're giving people an outlet to really, spend time here, to bond, to grow, to develop as individuals and have fun.
Absolutely,
man. And that's what it's about, brother.
Likewise, thank you for providing this platform for us as business owners and people who are trying to get the word out. Without your genius, you know what I mean? It'd be a little less harder to get out there. And so thank you for what you do.
For sure, brother. Yeah. Absolutely. Family, in the meantime, you know what it is. Be effective, be successful, live with some passion, and most importantly, Ray, put your fist up, be powerful. Until next time. Peace.
We're going hard in the paint, ain't nobody gonna stop us. The only way we going out if you pull out your choppers. All that slander and your hate will propel us like helicopters. We serve it well, here's the appetizer, call it toppers. Whoa. Toppers, yum.